whatever we want to talk about, we're going to talk about it. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of E4 Explicit Podcast. I'm Corey, and this is Anthony Davis, a professor, and I will let you kind of tell me your background.
I'm Associate Professor of Economics at Duquesne University and the Milton Friedman Distinguished Scholar at the Foundation for Economic Education. You start the conversation by saying that government has, or we'll say politicians, bureaucrats, have good intentions, and the intentions run afoul. We see an example of that right now with this call to make college free. And the problem here, and it's the same problem I submit that happens every time we have politicians talk about whatever it is, be it college or healthcare or Social Security or whatever. The problem is that they will focus on their intentions, and in doing so, only show you half of the picture.
Okay, yeah.
And so the half of the picture that they're showing us now is your kids will be able to go to college and it won't cost you anything.
Not like Harvard, but like public colleges,
yeah.
right? Okay,
public colleges.
Got it.
And okay, that's fine, and it sounds really good. In fact, it polls very well. When average Americans are asked, "How do you feel about this?" they say, "Thumbs up. This is a great idea."
Great. Yeah.
But interestingly, I believe it was Pew, if not Gallup, did a series of studies on this. They asked this question to the average voter: "What do you think about free college?" And they say, "Thumbs up. Great idea."
Sure.
And then they rephrase it and they say, "Well, what about free college in exchange for your taxes going up X percent?" And there, the support for the thing dropped precipitously.
Yeah.
Because that's the full picture. You can't give anything without there being some cost on the other side.
Of course.
And part of the problem with intentions is we focus on them. And we say things like, there are a lot of poor people who can't afford to go to college. We need to fix that. In fact, college is too expensive for almost everybody. We need to fix it for everyone. And when you look at the intention, it looks well and good and noble. But when you look at the other side and say, yeah, but it's going to come at a cost. And the cost is everybody's going to have to pay, 10% more taxes.
Yeah.
And now you see, the single mother trying to raise kids and just barely getting by. She can't afford to pay another 10%. No. And if you ask her, she would say, yeah, free college sounds like a good idea, but not at that price.
Yep.
I'd rather do something else. And there you see the full picture. And one of the ways to get around this problem of falling into the trap of good intentions is to make sure that we show the whole picture. What are the benefits and what are the costs?
Yeah, no, I actually have two questions about that. So my first question is, I think it's New York. Is it DC too? There's a couple states that are doing the free public colleges, right?
Right.
And I'm like, that sounds great. That's awesome. Because when I lived in New York, my girlfriend was like, hey, I might do this, whatever. And I kind of like looked into it. So if you do it, first off, you have to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do your 4-year degree, but you basically have to sign a contract saying you will not leave the state for an additional 4 to 6 years after you graduate.
Yeah.
Which would obviously make that state's the economy work better for them, because they would provide the education, but then you would stay here to get a job, and then it would just like recycle itself.
Right.
Makes sense. But it's like, all right, well, if I want to go to school in North Carolina at Duke, but I don't want to live in at Duke, so it kind of, I was like, it's kind of like a trap. Like, you're basically going to invest like 10 years of your life, if not longer, just to get free schooling. So it was like, I don't know why they did that or structured that way, or if that was like kind of like they're testing it and to see if like the free public space would work. But so what are your thoughts on that? But also, I'm not a fan of higher education.
Personally. Oh, I agree. Neither am I. And I teach in it.
That's amazing. All right, good. I thought you were going to say the opposite, because, for instance, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, that's one thing. But for me, I went to school for film. I should have never went.
Yes.
Because everything I learned, I either did or I could have learned on YouTube. The only thing I got from my education was the people that I met in school, and I work with them now professionally. Okay.
And you only met them because they were there also,
exactly.
And they didn't need to be.
100%. So I think, what are your thoughts of actually going to school?
Yeah. So if you go back to the 1970s, 25% of 18 to 24-year-olds were enrolled in higher education. Today, it's 50%. Now, you can't tell me that our 18 to 24-year-olds are twice as smart as they were in the 1970s.
No.
What's going on is we're pushing people into college who don't belong there. And it's not because they're dumb. It's because college is designed to give you an education in which you think about things, as opposed to an education in which you're doing things. And if your goal is to do things, you don't need a college education. You need technical training. And somehow in this country, and Europe avoided this, and I don't know how they did it, but in this country, we've come to denigrate technical training as being somehow you're a second-class citizen.
100%. Yeah.
When in fact, I'll give you a good example. Of course, I'm an academic. My parents and my wife's parents are all academics. Her brothers and sisters. It's an entire family of academics, right? Including 5 of my 6 children. Number 6 says, "Heck with that! I want to be an automotive engineer." And I said, "Thumbs up, dude! Go for it!"
Yeah.
Because that's where his interests lie.
Skill set, all that stuff.
He can go get a degree in accounting and probably end up earning less than he would as a good automotive engineer and not enjoy it.
Yeah, and be miserable. That's my thing. Yeah, it's like you pay. I mean, I paid for 3 years, and I went to I went to the Art Institute first off. So
wow,
joke, scam. They got sued by the government. They were non-profit or they were for profit. Now they have to be non-profit. And it's not like I went to like USC or like a school that might have gotten me in a room with Steven Spielberg. You know what I mean? I went to some bogus school, and so just the educational system in general, I think, is kind of not helping or working to help people in general, right? What would you say, kind of?
Yeah, I think that's true, and part of it comes from how we pay for college. And this idea of making college free actually is going to make that whole situation worse, because what happens is colleges and universities have no skin in the game when it comes to your eventual employment. So you come to the school and you pay them X tens of thousands of dollars, and if you graduate with a degree that has no market value, that doesn't cost the university anything.
Nothing.
You're done, on your own.
We're
done with you.
Money. Yeah.
An interesting way to do this would be to require that the universities and colleges, which have tremendous endowments, use the endowments to fund loans to the students. So the colleges and universities would loan directly to the students. So if you can't get a job to repay your loan, the college or university is out the money.
So they make sure you have a job.
All of a sudden, they become hyper-focused on admitting people who are going to do well, and while you're there, that you study things that have serious market value.
Yeah.
And making college, quote-unquote, free actually goes in the opposite direction, because what it does is it removes from both the student and the college any negative repercussions of making bad choices.
Sure.
You could go, you study basket weaving, you can't get a job. Well, that's okay. The taxpayer is going to take care of that for you. Yeah.
That's so smart, because what you just said about the job department or the job finding department, whatever you want to call it, recruiting or whatever, in most colleges are a joke. I remember at Art Institute, when it comes time for them to look for a job for you, they're finding oh, we got you a wedding gig, or we got you. I'm like, why aren't you finding me jobs at ESPN, or why am I not recording a documentary for Nat Geo right now? You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not finding legit jobs that require. I have so many friends that went to school at University of Maryland for all these amazing degrees, and they're bartending, or they're selling insurance, or they're doing something that has nothing to do with what they went to school for.
Yeah, one of the things that I say repeatedly to high school students is that a college degree isn't valuable. A college major is. And the value ranges dramatically. At the top is petroleum engineering. The average student with a 4-year, so forget about graduate school, the average student with a 4-year degree in petroleum engineering can expect to earn almost $6 million over the course of a 40-year career, over and above what cost him for the college education. So no question, petroleum engineering, it's worth it. Go for it. On the other end of the spectrum, you get things like early childhood development, whose value is negative $500,000. That is, early childhood development, when you're done with that degree, you're actually worth less on the market than you were with your high school diploma.
Wow.
Yeah. And you get this gamut of things in between. So when people start talking about the importance of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, they're all up at the top end, worth $2, $3, $4 million over and above the cost of the education.
Wow.
Things when you get into the liberal arts, that's worth much less. The fine arts, less. When you get into things, basically any major that ends in the word studies is at the bottom of the pile.
Wow.
It's almost not worth it your time to go get the degree.
That
Now,
makes so much
now
sense.
let me put a big footnote here, because people are going to wig out saying, well, I'm going to college for more than a job. I'm going to improve myself and all of this. And that's fine. But if you're going to improve yourself, that's on you. If we're talking about the government funding college education, what matters isn't the benefit to you. What matters is the benefit of your education to others.
Got it.
And that's reflected in the wage rate. The wage that you can get with your degree is a direct measure of the value of that degree to the rest of society. And so if after you've paid the tuition, you can't afford to pay back your loans, well, that's an indication that society doesn't need any more people who have that degree.
Yep.
Not to say it's not valuable, but to say that we've got enough of people who are already willing and able to do this thing. We don't need more.
Yeah. So basically find something that is of need and go do that, basically.
Yeah. And notice the focus here, because again, people wig out when you talk about, well, you're focused on making a profit from your education. But that's what profit is. It's a sign that you have provided value to somebody else. And so this whole conversation about what's my degree worth on the market, it's other-centered. It's a question of what can I do for others? How much do others value what I'm doing? As opposed to a self-centered of, do I want this and it's going to make me a better person?
Yeah. No, that actually totally makes sense. And I agree with you. I think when people see a company or whoever thinking like about a profit, it's okay to make $1 off of what you're providing, especially if it's a good service and people are getting benefit from it. So that's so funny that that like being like owning a business and dealing with that stuff, I kind of catch myself sometimes almost not feeling bad, but like I don't want to like make too much or do too well because I don't want people to think like, oh, he's in it for the money. It's like, no, it's like, but now that what you're saying totally makes sense. It's like, yes, I can make money and make a good amount of money doing it, but if I'm benefiting hundreds or thousands of people at the same time, what's so bad about that?
Right. Yeah, and if you're making money at it, it's precisely because you're benefiting all those people. They like what you're doing so much, they are willingly handing you their money for you to do more of it.